anytime soon, right? Republicans control the House of Representatives, and they control the Senate, and the President of the United States is Donald J. Trump. Which I'm pretty sure not a lot of people saw coming, including me. I lost some money on that election and through betting. But I'll tell you what I really didn't see coming. I didn't think that President Trump would actually give us some of the most conservative governance of my lifetime, and he actually has in the past few months. I'm talking about a fantastic new Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch. I'm talking about a historically good tax plan. I'm talking about the end of the individual mandate, serious regulatory cuts, the defeat of ISIS, the American embassy moving to Jerusalem. Most of all, of course, President Trump. Most of all, President Trump brought us one really fantastic thing. Hillary Clinton is not and will never be President of the United States. Why bother? She's already in a jail of her own making, somewhere in the woods of upstate New York. There's a reason the leftism is failing. And it's not just because Hillary Clinton was the worst candidate in the history of American politics, though she was. And it's not just because Barack Obama was a terrible president, though he was. It's because something bigger is actually happening. The media don't see it. Hollywood doesn't see it. The universities don't see it. Here is the big secret to conservative success in 2016 and beyond. The era of political correctness is over. Ah, yes. Political correctness is dying a slow, painful, bloody, agonizing death, and all I can say is hell yeah. Political correctness has been a blight on American society for decades, tearing Americans apart one from another. Instead of unity through truth, the left has offered feelings. Right? Feelings, love feelings. The nice, comforting illusion that if something is wrong with your life, it's actually somebody else's fault. And if you don't have facts to back that up, of course, if you can't point to evidence of discrimination or cruelty or malice, then we're supposed to believe you anyway. Because if we do anything else, that would be challenging your truth. And that's political correctness in a nutshell, right? My truth over the truth. Well, there's no such thing as my truth. There is just the truth. Okay? There is no your truth. There is just the truth. Americans, young Americans, we're sick and tired of postmodern garbage. And when we sacrifice the truth for subjective feelings, we are contributing to the downfall of the greatest nation and civilization in the history of mankind. The entire premise of democracy is that our backgrounds matter less than what we share, a commitment to our common humanity, an ability to think beyond our own personal biases, a willingness to put aside tribal loyalties and walk in somebody else's shoes. America is about reason. It always was. America was about the fundamental proposition that human beings are actually capable of rising above their station, of exercising their free will, of being free people. America was based on the idea that good ideas win in the end. A simple faith that if we share a commitment to the value of truth, then we might be able to come together to pursue it. But the left has fought for decades to destroy that faith. Political correctness, of course, is their tool. Now, that term is a term of Marxist orthodoxy. It was originally preached by mass murderer Mao Zedong and Soviet communist Leon Trotsky. Now, what originally PC meant was stifling attitudes that didn't forward the revolution. In practice, what that meant was censorship, banishment, the gulags, death for people who didn't speak in politically correct ways. Just like a lot of other lefty phrases, by the way. Politically correct, it's like social justice. Social justice means not justice. Politically correct means not correct. When leftists in America picked up on the PC movement, they insisted that their goal actually wasn't to silence. It was instead to open up a new vista of viewpoints. Because here's the thing, America was so racist, so sexist, so bigoted, so homophobic, that alternative viewpoints couldn't be expressed in public. So the only way to allow marginalized members of different communities to speak was to shut everybody up who offended members of those groups. PC was actually supposed to make us free. That was the promise. But instead, of course, the intellectual jackboots showed up. Speaking facts that offended members of supposedly victimized subgroups became taboo. Basic truth went out the window in favor of leftist viewpoints. Victim groups replaced actual victims. Language shifted to accommodate the feelings of those victim groups so as not to reflect oppressive hierarchies. And for years, the PC culture grew stronger. By the time of the Obama presidency, PC wasn't just dominant, it had morphed into something almost unstoppable. Advocates of PC had once claimed rightly that certain groups in America were victimized, which is true. Of course, certain groups in America were victimized. And they used to present evidence to that effect. But under President Obama, and over the 8 years he was president, the new PC, what's changed on our college campuses, the new PC said you didn't even need evidence of victimization to shut other people up. You just had to claim that you were victimized, and it was our job to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so a new form of PC was born, one that I'm sure all the college students in the room are familiar with. We're talking about the PC of white privilege, which is nonsense, and microaggressions, which is even worse nonsense, and trigger warnings, which is the worse nonsense than that, and safe space is the worst nonsense of all. The left said that all politics was about group identity. So if you're white and male, then your perspective is not your perspective as a human being, it's your perspective as a white male, the white male perspective. And if you're gay and black, then your perspective is not your perspective as an individual human, it's your perspective as a gay black person. Right? Now, according to the left, there's a hierarchy. So the white male perspective is the perspective of privilege, since the founding fathers were white and male. Never mind that the highest average household income in the United States exists among Asians. Right? But according to the left, if you are white and male and straight, you are automatically the beneficiary of privilege. And so you're simply barred from commenting on anything that matters politically, because obviously you have been one of the victimizers. You are the beneficiary of this terrible American system. And if you do comment, and if your comments hurt anybody's feelings, or even if they could have hurt somebody else's feelings, they didn't actually hurt anyone's feelings, but maybe they might have, that's a microaggression. It's not just you offended somebody, it's that you aggressed them. You did something that's violent to them, and they get to respond in kind. You violated that person's sovereignty. These microaggressions, of course, require trigger warnings, warnings that you might offend somebody. And only by abiding by these fascistic rules can we actually create the safe spaces, these pristine bubbles where no one disagrees with you and you get to hug your cuddly teddy bear and feel all warm and fuzzy inside. This PC culture took over the university system. It took over the mainstream media. PC culture meant that universities began to censor speakers, to ban them from campus if they offended members of supposed victim groups. That's why when I was invited by Young America's Foundation to speak at DePaul, the college banned me. They literally called out the sheriff of Cook County and threatened to arrest me if I set foot on campus. It was wild. It was like a 9-foot-tall dude. And I said, if I step right here, are you going to arrest me? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, well, then I'm not going to step right there. They're actually doing the same thing now to my friend Steven Crowder. It's why universities have barred the public from my speeches at UCLA, UC Berkeley, University of Minnesota, and University of Connecticut. It's why Charles Murray was physically assaulted at Middlebury. It's why Brett Weinstein was thrown out of his job for having